everyone, welcome back to our channel Trailhead Ranger NJ, and we are doing this series of interview preparation where we are coming up with the real based or the interview question which is asked in real interviews by the different companies. So this video is for the interview questions which has been asked in the interview of the Accenture for the 4+ year of experience candidate. So I hope you like it, and if you get one or two questions from this, or you might be learning something new here only. So if you do, please like it and subscribe the channel. Let's start. Our first question is, what is a master detail relationship and when would you use it? So master detail relationship is a relationship where we are linking one record to many other records. So basically child record could be having multiple child records could be having a single parent record, but the problem here is it support the cascade deletion. So that is, whenever the parent is getting deleted, the child records, its related child records should also needs to be deleted, and child records level of security would be depending on the parent record, and even the ownership also relies on the parent record. So whenever we want to establish a strong dependence between the two objects, that is parent and the child record, then it should be using a master detail relationship. So in such cases we go for the master detail relationship. Let's go to the next question. Next question we have, what is system context and user context in Salesforce? So it usually defines that in which context our class or flow is running. So if we talk about the class, so by default class runs in the system context mode, but if we use the with sharing keyword, it use in the user context mode. In case of system context, it means that it is running with elevated permissions, typically without enforcing any of the user's permission. It doesn't matter what kind of user is logged in, it will run and will have the functionality keep running without blocking anything based on the user's permission. But if we are running the same class using a user context, it will check for the user's permission, respect to the record level and the field level security, and then run the class accordingly. Now we have next question as, what is the difference between managed and the unmanaged packages? So there are certain kind of differences comes between managed and unmanaged package, such as code protection, upgradability, namespace prefix, support and versioning, and the use case. So for the managed package, the code is hidden and it is not editable by the subscriber. But in case of unmanaged package, it is visible and we can edit it after installation. Managed package can be upgraded by the provider. It is ideal for distributing apps via App Exchange, but unmanaged package cannot be upgradable once it is installed to our system. The managed package uses a unique namespace prefix to avoid any kind of conflicts. But in case of unmanaged package, we don't have any namespace used, which can lead to the naming conflicts as well. Managed package again supports the versioning, but unmanaged package does not support for any licensing. Managed package is for independent software vendors and the commercial distribution, but unmanaged is used for the open source training or any one-time deployments which we are doing between the orgs. So that's why managed packages are more reliable, but that doesn't mean that we cannot or we should not go for the unmanaged packages. Let's move on to the next question. That is, how do you pass the current record ID to a screen flow? Also, is it possible to send the entire record? So to pass the current record ID to a screen flow, we can define it in flow such as the record ID variable. That is, in the flow, if you know that there is a resource availability, so we can create a new resource, that is the record ID variable. We can choose the data type as text and make it available for the input. Then that's how we can pass the current record ID to a screen flow. But if we talk about the entire record, so no, we cannot directly send the entire record, but using the record ID we can utilize the get record element in the flow, and then we can fetch the whole records or any of the required field or the limited number of fields which we needed for our requirement. The next question is it possible to use formula field in roll-up summary calculation, which is referring to another object? So no, we cannot use formula field, which is only referred to the related object, but not to the other objects. So basically in the roll-up summary field generally comes into the picture in the relationship of master detail. So there also it does not support the formula fields, and we cannot refer it to any other object. It can only be referred to the related objects only. The next question is, suppose there is a customer field which has a default value but not added to the page layout. Now if we are cloning a record from the UI, what would be the value of the field in the new record? So its value would be the same as the value in the first record from which we will be cloning it from. So suppose our first record, its field is not added to the page layout, but it is having some default value. So if the field is not on the page layout, it does not mean that value to that field does not exist. It exists on the back end, just it is not visible to the user because it is not added to the page layout. So whatever the value that field is having, it could be the default value, or maybe user has updated it on the back end, so it could be some other value. But if we are cloning it from that record, it will be holding the update, it will be holding the same value which will the first record is holding, either the default one or the updated one. The next question, how do you convert 15-digit record ID to 18-digit record ID in the formula and the validation rule? So in case of validation rule and the formula fields, we can compare the 15-digit IDs directly, but we cannot convert it. So we can use the apex trigger or class to convert the record ID from 15 to 18 digits. We can just assign 15-digit record ID to a 18-digit variable of string data type, and it will convert it automatically. So we can just compare in the formula field or the validation rule, but we cannot convert it. For the conversion purpose, we need to utilize apex trigger or the apex classes. The next question we have, what happens to the manual sharing record when the ownership changes? So manual sharing is removed automatically whenever the record owner changes, because new owner could be having different sharing rules or the needs. So it means even in this question also holds the meaning. It sometimes it has the follow-up question, or this question is framed in this manner, like if you are having a record A and it is manually shared with the record B, but after it is shared to the record owner B, the ownership is changed manually, so the B owner will still be having access to that record. So no, it will not, the B owner will not be having the access to that particular record. Only the owner, that is the C record, will be that is the C user will be having the access to that record. The next question, how can you dynamically enforce field level security in Apex queries? So to dynamically enforce field level security in Apex query, we can utilize there is with security enforced parameter or keyword in SOQL, or we can either use user mode keyword as well. So user mode is the recent one which has been modified in terms of the user permission. Earlier we used to use the with security enforced as well. So this topic I have covered in our another video, that is SOQL best practices as well. I will paste the link of this video in the description, and as well as you can see the card or the link of it on the top right corner as well. So you can refer that. Now next question is, if we make a field required using validation rule and trigger, which one will execute first? So using trigger, we need to utilize the before event to have the make field required, and if we are operating it on the before event, then before the validation rule, before trigger get executed, if we see the execution of Salesforce, So before trigger gets executed first, then the validation rule, and then the after trigger. So to make a field acquire, we need to utilize the before trigger. So we can say trigger will be getting executed first, and then the validation rule will get executed. The next question is, how can you prevent a user from assigning more than one primary contact? So we can use two approaches in this primarily. First is using flow, or we can use the trigger as well. So in case of flow, we can use the record triggered flow, and we can query for the primary contacts on the same account, and we can throw an error if more than one is found whenever there is a change, and if user is trying to assign more than one, we can just throw the error. And similarly, if we talk about trigger, and even we can utilize the validation rule as well. So we can create a custom field on the object, and we can make it check if there is more than one primary contact gets added, and then throws an error. The next question is, what is LDS, and explain its pros and the cons. So LDS is nothing but a lightning data service. So it is a Salesforce feature which allows our lightning components to have the access to create, edit, or even delete the Salesforce records without using Apex. So for LDS, we have some examples such as lightning record form, lightning record view form, or lightning record edit form. So these all comes under LDS. So LDS is nothing just a framework or a feature given by Salesforce to give our LWCs or lightning components access to create, edit, or delete the Salesforce record. So about pros and cons, if we see pros, so if we are utilizing LDS, then there is no Apex required. But cons is that it is limited to single record only. We can only make any operation on single record using the lightning record forms. Then again, pro, we have that it respect the field level security and the sharing rules and sharing settings. But cons is it does not support the server side logic like Apex triggers or classes at all. So that is also a big disadvantage to it. Then pros is that it supports the reactive updates. Reactive update means whenever we are making an update to a record using the lightning record forms, so it will show us the changes in instantly. It will not take time, or we will not have to refresh it. It will show us the changes effectively. Then con is it cannot apply conditional filters beyond the record ID. Means any kind of conditional filters if we want to give, such as based on some status or type, we cannot do, or we cannot achieve that functionality using LDS. Pro is that it automatically log the records. That is, if we are working on one particular record, so if some other user or developer will be accessing that record to make any changes anywhere else, suppose using Apex or flows, then they won't be able to do it because it is automatically be logged here. Then con is it supports less customization, and it is very less flexible to Apex for complex UI and the logic. So that's why LDS is not supported everywhere. We have certain limitations to it. We only support it for certain functionalities, or the basic logic if we have to implement, then only we support the lightning record forms. Then we have next question as, can we execute a DML statement in before triggers? So yes, we can, but we should not, because it access the records before saving it to the database. So it can result in the recursive trigger calls and hit the governor limit issues as well. So to avoid the recursive trigger calls, and also it does not even make any sense that record is not even saved to the database. So why we are even performing the DML operation? So we should always go for the DML operations in the after triggers, so that we can even avoid the recursive trigger calls as well as the governor limit issues. Then we have next question as, can we pass a list in the future method? So it totally depends on what kind of list we are passing, because future method only supports primary primitive data types. So list of string or list of id can be supportive, but list of custom types or the complex objects it cannot. So we can pass a list, but it can be list of primitive data types such as string or ids. But if we want to send a list of custom types or custom objects, it cannot support that. Then we have next question as what is cross object formula field. So this cross object formula field is a read only custom field which pulls the data from parent record into a child record using a formula. So we can create only this field on the child record. We can refer the parent object field, but we cannot do this vice versa. That is, this field cannot be on the parent object and we cannot refer the child object field, but we can have it on the child object and then refer the field of parent object to create the formula. Then next, difference between the formula field and the summary field. So formula field gets created on the child records generally so that it can access the parent data, but roll up summary fields are created on the parent record referencing the parent data, and this referencing all the child data. I'll correct this one. And roll up summary fields generally comes only for the master detail relationships, not any other kind of relationship or any other data. It does not support that. Then for the formula fields, it's dynamically based on the logic, but roll up summary fields used for the aggregate functions such as count, sum, max, min, these kind of values. If we want to get, then we can use the summary fields. Formula field supports in the lookup or even the master detail relationship, but roll up summary fields only supported in master detail relationships. Then we have next question as what is the use of system.run as. So system.run as we use in the test classes so that we can ensure that our particular method or particular piece of code is or can be run in user's context and it is running the way we want it to run. So we can check that functionality using the system.run as. Then the next question we have, can the queuable class call future method in Salesforce? So no, we cannot call the future method from queuable class directly. We can move the logic present in the future method to the queuable class and then we can enqueue that class. So yes, we cannot call the future method from the queuable class. Next question is what's the difference between view all, modify all, view all data and modify all data. So view all allows the user to view all records of specific object irrespective of its sharing rules and the ownership, and modify all allows the user to view, edit, delete and transfer all the records of a specific object again irrespective of sharing rules and the ownership. But view all data, it grant the user view access to all records across all objects in the org, and again modify all data grants the full create, read, update, delete access to all the records. So the difference is view all data and modify all data keeps in check the user view, but view all and modify all, it works irrespective of the sharing rule and the ownership. So we need to write a SQL to fetch all the opportunities related to accounts. So in this we can write the SQL query as that it will give us the list of opportunities in which we can select ID or any other fields from opportunity where the account ID field matches to this account ID's variable. So this account ID's variable should be given because we wanted all the opportunities related to the accounts. Then the next question we have, write a trigger to update the account's description with opportunity name that has the highest amount. So we have already covered this scenario. You can refer that from the link in the description box. I'll have the link on the top right corner as well here. So you can refer that. We have already covered it very in detail. And I hope you like it. We have covered all the questions which has been asked in the Accenture interview for the 4+ year of experience candidate for the Salesforce developer position. And if you do like it, please like it and subscribe the channel and stay tuned.